Gratitude is not just a polite response to something nice. It's not just what we say when someone holds the door open or hands us a gift. It's deeper than that. Gratitude is not just a reaction to life being good. It's a mindset that makes life good, no matter what's happening. And if we're honest, that's a radical shift for most people, because most people are trained, conditioned, and even rewarded to say, thank you, after something favorable happens. You get the job. Thank you. You get the raise. Thank you. Your partner surprises you with a thoughtful gesture. Thank you. But what happens when life doesn't play along? What happens when the call doesn't come, when the deal falls through, when you're tired, broke, confused, or feeling completely lost? See, that's where the power of gratitude kicks in. Not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. When you choose gratitude, even in the storm, that's when it becomes a mindset. It's not about ignoring reality. It's not pretending that pain doesn't exist or that disappointment doesn't sting. It's about choosing to anchor yourself in what's still right, even when everything else feels wrong. That's the mindset. That's the shift. That's the power. There's a story I like to tell, not because it's glamorous, but because it's real. There was a point in my life where I had nothing. No job, no direction, barely enough to eat. I was sleeping on the floor, wondering what tomorrow would bring. And in that moment, the easy thing would have been to complain. The natural thing would have been to drown in self-pity. But I'll never forget this one night. I was cold, I was hungry, and I was frustrated beyond words. I was pacing the floor, talking to myself, and something came over me. I stopped. I sat down. I closed my eyes. And I said, thank you. Not because I had something amazing happen, not because my circumstances had changed, but because I was still here. I still had a chance. I still had breath in my body. I still had fight in my spirit. And from that moment forward, I decided that gratitude would not be a reaction in my life. It would be my foundation, my mindset, my way of seeing the world. Let me tell you, everything started to shift after that. Not overnight, not instantly, but my spirit got lighter. My mind got clearer. My decisions got bolder, because when you live from a grateful mindset, you stop waiting for the outside world to give you permission to feel joy. You start bringing joy to the world. You stop waiting for circumstances to make you happy. You start bringing happiness to the circumstances. That's the difference. That's the edge. A lot of people think gratitude is a side effect of success. But I've learned that gratitude is often the cause. People who are truly grateful, even in struggle, start attracting different energy. They show up differently. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They find strength where others find excuses. Because gratitude trains your brain to focus on what's possible instead of what's missing. That's the muscle you build. That's the mindset you forge. You start every day not looking for what's wrong, but appreciating what's right. You stop measuring yourself by what you lack and start recognizing the value of what you already have. You look around your life, not waiting for some perfect moment, but seeing the beauty in this one. And I don't mean you ignore your problems. I don't mean you lie to yourself. I mean you rise above them by deciding in advance that you will not let them dictate your peace. Because when gratitude is your mindset, peace becomes your power. When gratitude is your mindset, you stop living in reaction to life and start leading it. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the author of your experience. Let's talk about struggle. The kind that makes you question your strength, your worth, and sometimes even your purpose. The kind that keeps you up at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how things got so hard so fast. Struggle is real. It's painful. It's frustrating. And sometimes it feels unfair. But here's the truth that separates people who survive from those who rise even in the darkest moments. You can find something to be thankful for. I know how strange that sounds. Gratitude and struggle don't seem like they belong in the same sentence. Most people treat gratitude like it's only appropriate when life is smooth, when bills are paid, and when relationships are strong, and when the path ahead is clear. But life doesn't always give us that luxury. Sometimes it throws you into the fire. And the last thing you want to do is say thank you. But it's in those very moments when the ground is shaking beneath you, that gratitude becomes your anchor. I remember a time I felt like everything was falling apart. I was broke, not just financially, but emotionally. I had dreams, but they felt miles away. Every door I knocked on was either locked or slammed in my face. And I started thinking maybe I wasn't cut out for more. Maybe this was it for me. That's when I met a man at a shelter where I had gone to volunteer. Not out of selflessness, but because I needed perspective. He had nothing, at least by the world's standards. He had no home, no family, and was battling an illness that left him in pain every day. But this man smiled like he had won the lottery. I asked him, "How do you stay positive?" And I'll never forget what he said. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I woke up today, didn't I? I've got another shot. And as long as I've got breath, I've got a reason to give thanks." That moment changed something in me. I realized that gratitude isn't about having everything. It's about recognizing something, a breath, a heartbeat, a lesson, a chance. Sometimes it's not even about finding the good in the situation. It's just about being thankful that you made it through the situation. You see, life is going to test you. It's going to knock you down. It's going to throw storms your way. But in the middle of that chaos, if you can find one thing, just one thing, to be grateful for, it gives you power. It gives you perspective. It gives you a reason to keep going. Struggle tries to make us focus on what we've lost. Gratitude reminds us of what we still have. When you're in pain, gratitude doesn't erase it, but it gives it purpose. When you're exhausted, gratitude doesn't remove the weight, but it reminds you that you've carried this far for a reason. Gratitude doesn't deny the presence of difficulty. It simply refuses to let difficulty define the experience. I've talked to people who've faced unspeakable loss, loss of loved ones, loss of health, loss of dreams. And the most powerful ones, the ones who rise from the ashes, are not the ones who pretend it didn't hurt. They're the ones who found something, even in the suffering, that they could say thank you for. Maybe it was the love they shared before the loss. Maybe it was the strength they discovered in themselves. Maybe it was the clarity that pain brought to what really matters. But they found it. They searched, they clung to it. And it carried them through. You don't need everything to be perfect to practice gratitude. You just need to look. And sometimes you have to look harder than you want to. You have to dig through the mess, through the noise, through the heartbreak, and pull out the smallest piece of light you can find. And when you do, you hold on to it like your life depends on it. Because sometimes it does. Gratitude in struggle isn't about ignoring the pain. It's about holding on to something greater than the pain, something deeper, something more powerful, something that reminds you, even in this, even now, there's still something worth saying saying thank you isn't just good manners. It's a habit that rewires your life from the inside out. It's one of the simplest things you can do, but its impact reaches deeper than most people realize. When you say, thank you every day, not just when life is easy, not just when you get what you want, but especially when it's hard. You're building something inside yourself that no one can take away. You are building emotional and spiritual resilience. Resilience doesn't just happen. It's not something you're born with or something you stumble into by accident. It's forged, it's earned, it's trained. And gratitude is one of the greatest tools for that training. When life tests you, and it will, it's not your talent that gets you through. It's not your bank account, your connections, or your resume. It's what you've built on the inside. That inner core, that quiet strength, that refusal to quit when it would be easier to give up. A gratitude is the daily discipline that strengthens that core. Think about it like this every time you say, thank you, in the middle of chaos. You're proving to yourself that your spirit is stronger than your circumstances. Every time you choose to be grateful, when things don't go your way, you're choosing power over panic. You're choosing calm over chaos. You're choosing purpose over pity. And that decision, repeated every day, stacks strength inside your soul. It's not flashy. It's not loud, but it is unshakable. I've seen people go through the kind of heartbreak that would make most of us crumble. I've watched people lose everything they thought mattered. Jobs, homes, loved ones, and still, somehow, some way, they stood tall. And when I asked them how, their answers almost always pointed back to one thing: gratitude. They made a decision, not just once, but every single day, to say thank you. Not for the pain, but for the strength to endure it. Not for the loss, but for the memories that came before it. Not because life was easy, but because they refused to let it make them bitter. A gratitude doesn't remove the struggle, but it changes your relationship to it. It shifts your perspective. It takes you from, why is this happening to me, to, what is this teaching me? And when you start asking better questions, you get stronger answers. You get clarity. You get direction. You get resilience. Saying thank you daily trains your mind to look for the good, even when it's buried under layers of disappointment or stress. And the more you look for the good, the more you find it's not about lying to yourself or sugarcoating reality. It's about choosing to see the full picture. Because the truth is, there's always something worth appreciating. Always. Even on the worst day. Even in the worst storm. And when you get in the habit of recognizing it, naming it, speaking it out loud, you change your chemistry. You literally change your brain. There's science behind this, but you don't need research to know how it feels. You've felt it before. That moment when you pause, take a deep breath, and say thank you. Not because everything's okay, but because you're still here, still breathing, still in the fight. That small act creates space in your soul, space to breathe, space to believe, space to begin again. I've made it a part of my daily routine. Before I check my phone, before I scroll through the news, before I face the demands of the day, I stop and I say, thank you. Sometimes I whisper it. Sometimes I say it out loud. Sometimes I have to force the words through clenched teeth, but I say them anyway because I know what it does to me. I know what it does for me. It grounds me. It centers me. It reminds me that no matter what happens today, I've already won something just by waking up and recognizing that this life, this breath, this moment is a gift. That's the quiet power of daily gratitude. It doesn't make you invincible, but it makes you unbreakable. Because when you say thank you every day, you don't just feel better for a moment. You get stronger for life. There are moments in life when all you can see are the walls in front of you. The doors are closed. The path is blocked. The world feels like it's shouting no at every turn. Limitations have a way of making themselves known. Loud, clear, and unapologetically. They show up as financial struggle, rejection, failure, illness, setbacks, delays, and disappointments. But here's the secret most people missing. Gratitude is what transforms those limitations into possibilities you never imagined. It's easy to focus on what you don't have. It's natural to notice what's missing. The mind wants to fix problems, solve puzzles, and highlight what's wrong. But when you shift your perspective through gratitude, you start asking a different kind of question. You stop thinking, why can't I? And start asking, what can I do with what I already have? That shift is everything. That question opens doors. That mindset breaks down the walls. I've seen people achieve greatness not because everything was handed to them, but because they chose to be grateful for the little they had. They were the ones who didn't complain about the lack of resources, but got resourceful. They didn't cry over rejection. They learned from it, grew through it, and came back stronger. And every time life told them, no, they said, thank you. And look for the lesson, the opportunity, the crack in the wall where light could still shine through. There was a young I met once who had been told his entire life that he wasn't smart enough to succeed. He didn't go to the best schools. He didn't have money. He didn't come from connections. He had every limitation you could name, but what he did have was something you couldn't see on paper. He had gratitude. He was thankful for his mind, thankful for his curiosity, thankful for his challenges because they taught him grit. That gratitude turned every so-called weakness into a tool. Every closed door became motivation to build his own. And he did. Today, he mentors others who come from that same story, not because he waited for the world to open up for him, but because he used what the world gave him and turned it into something powerful. Gratitude does that. It rewires how you see your limits. Instead of something holding you back, you start seeing a prompt, a challenge, a question. What can I create here? What can I learn? How can I grow? Suddenly, what looked like a roadblock becomes a reroute. What looked like a deficiency becomes a unique strength. Because when you're grateful, you don't waste energy resenting what you don't have. You channel that energy into maximizing what you do. Think about the greatest innovations in history. Many were born out of limitations. People didn't have what they needed, so they created something new. They were driven not by frustration alone, but by vision, by resilience, and often by gratitude. Gratitude for the struggle. Gratitude for the chance to try. Gratitude for the failure that refined their focus and sharpened their direction. Limitations became their teacher. And gratitude was the language they used to learn the lesson. Gratitude allows you to look at what's lacking and see potential instead of emptiness. If you don't have support, gratitude reminds you that self-belief is a powerful force. If you don't have the perfect circumstances, gratitude sharpens your creativity and makes you resourceful. If you're in pain, gratitude reveals the strength that pain is building in you. Every limitation becomes a space for development. When gratitude is involved, it changes the entire dynamic of your life, from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to purpose. You begin to look at obstacles not as stop signs, but as signals. Signals to slow down, to reassess, to prepare for something greater. You start interpreting delays not as denials, but as divine redirections. You start hearing no and recognizing it as not yet. That's the power of gratitude. It decodes the limitations in your life and helps you read the opportunities hidden within them. A gratitude doesn't remove the limits, but it strips them of their power to control your mind. It hands the power back to you and gives you the vision to see not just what's in your way, but what's within your reach when you stop complaining and start appreciating the chance to rise. There's something powerful that happens when you live your life rooted in gratitude. It doesn't just change how you feel. It changes how you show up for other people. Gratitude isn't just personal, it's contagious. When you walk in gratitude, speak from gratitude, move through life with gratitude in your bones, people feel it. They don't just hear your words, they feel your spirit. And it lifts them up. It reminds them of what's possible. It gives them permission to see the good in their own lives. Even gratitude is more than a word. It's a way of life. It's how we reclaim our peace, how we rise in the face of pain, and how we turn struggle into strength. When we stop waiting for perfect conditions to feel thankful and start choosing thankfulness in all conditions, we unlock something that no circumstance can take away. We become stronger, wiser, kinder. We shift from lack to abundance, from fear to faith, from silence to purpose. So let today be the day you stop looking outside for a reason to feel whole. Let today be the day you wake up and whisper, thank you, not just because life is good, but because you are determined to find the good in life. Carry the gratitude like armor, share it like light. Let it fill you, lift you, and lead you. And as it transforms you, watch how it transforms the world around you. Thank you.